So recently I've been scrolling through the Tic Tacs or the Tic Tac wannabes, getting my fix of self-hatred, when I noticed a couple of videos talking about my favorite subject, anime. More notably, the videos were discussing old shoujo anime and how it's better than new shoujo anime. Which obviously is all going to come down to personal opinions, but it had me thinking, could this possibly be true? I've definitely have seen a lot of good anime back in the day, but I feel like I've seen an equally good amount of anime in the more recent years. And normally I'd keep on scrolling, but this one video in particular really irritated me. They were saying the same general idea that old shoujo is better than new shoujo, but they were comparing Ouran High School Host Club to Rent-A-Girlfriend, of all things. That's like comparing cabbages to lettuce. Sure, both are vegetables, but they do not taste the same. The target audience for Ouran is completely different than the audience for harem slop. I'm sorry, I'm a certified hater of harem anime. Anyways, I felt like that was a disrespectful comparison to make, especially given all the really good anime that I've seen in recent years. So in today's video, I'm going to be comparing some old shoujo classics to some newer romance anime, and I have several criteria to help me pick which one is best. First, we're going to be looking at the plot, then the female lead, then the male lead, then the supporting characters, and then lastly the chemistry. I also kind of picked these comparisons based off of vibes and general plot similarities to make it as fair as possible. First, we have Yona of the Dawn versus the Apothecary Diaries. Both are great shows. I thought with both taking place in a time period involving monarchies, courts, palaces, that kind of thing, they were comparable. And honestly, low-key, both have romance more as a side plot. I think the main plot of Yona is her trying to survive being run out of the palace, and Mao Mao is trying to solve mysteries of the palace. They aren't super heavy on romance, at least initially. So which one has the better plot? Apothecary Diaries is interesting because there's always a new mystery to unpack, but I think Yona has more suspense and shock, plus the fantasy element, so I'm giving points to Yona. As far as the better female lead, both main characters are really good. I love Mao Mao's snarky, eccentric personality. She's clever, she's witty, whereas Yona is kinda useless in the beginning of her story. She's a naive princess who doesn't know how to do a thing for herself. But her arc is amazing. She grows from wanting to only protect herself to wanting to protect the civilians in her kingdom. Mao Mao is more stagnant. She's smart from beginning to end, which is why I'm giving points to Yona again, because I think her growth is just more compelling. The male lead, Jinshi, is similar to Mao Mao in being clever and eccentric. I love a good simp, and he's also a bit of the comedy relief. Hawk is deeply loyal, overprotective, and a little scary at sometimes. I think Jinshi is the better male lead. I really adore a cinnamon roll type. Hawk's not an awful male lead by any stretch of the imagination, but I just absolutely adore Jinshi. Honestly, any male lead with long hair is kind of my weakness, so that's a point for Apothecary Diaries. Supporting characters? Apothecary Diaries doesn't really have any. I think most of the side characters contribute to the story in minor ways. Like Yoko is one of the concubines and Mao Mao's boss, but she doesn't really help solve mysteries of the palace. The focus of the story is on Mao Mao and Jinshi, which is fine because I adore both of them, but there's no extra whimsical side characters. Yona, on the other hand, has a surplus of fun side characters. There's these 4 dragon warriors that Yona seeks out initially for protection, but then later to save her country. And they all have their little backstories, which are all pretty traumatic and sad, to be honest. Especially Xenos. Dude, that broke my heart. He's just been wandering the countryside all alone because he's immortal. Ugh, I'm gonna cry. Points again to Yona. So, Yona's obviously already won, but we'll talk briefly about the last criteria, which is chemistry between the characters. I think Yona wins this area too. Like I said earlier, neither of these anime dive deep into the romance plot, but I think Yona has more actual romantic scenes than Apothecary Diaries does. I mean, Apothecary Diaries is an ongoing show, so they'll probably get to it later down the line, but yeah, Yona's the winner for this round. So next up we have Kami-sama Kiss versus Sugar Apple Fairy Tale. Let me just say this right off the bat. I hate Sugar Apple Fairy Tale. I actually plan on reviewing both of these anime in the very near future. But basically, they both have a similar premise of a teenage girl getting up into shenanigans with an immortal being of sorts. In Kami-sama Kiss, Tomoe is a fox yokai who has lived for hundreds of years, and Sugar Apple Fairy Tale, Cha is a fairy who's lived for hundreds of years. Both are the love protagonists to teenage girls. I think Kami-sama Kiss handled the age gap better because Tomoe actually, spoiler, I guess, Tomoe actually fell in love with Nanami when she was pretending to be her ancestor, so he fell in love with like a 20-something-year-old version of her, not the teenage one. It's still iffy, but with immortal creatures, you have to take the age gap with like a grain of salt. But it's weird that the age gap is always between teenage girls and really old men. Anyways, not to get too far off topic because those rants will be coming in future reviews. Overall, plot-wise, I think Kami-sama Kiss is better. Again, not to go too into it, but Sugar Apple Fairy Tale has some weird shit with human trafficking. Well, fairy trafficking? It's so... I can't with this show. But it's fantasy, there's fairies and stuff, which is interesting, but Kami-sama Kiss has better lore with deities and yokai and supernatural elements, and I think I just prefer that one, so points to Kami-sama Kiss. Nanami also is a better female lead, and she's a little immature and honestly quite naive to the point where it's like, how have you survived this long in the world? I feel like she's supposed to be unique to other characters in her world because she's kind to fairies, but like, she's really not all that kind. I don't understand this show sometimes. And Nanami is a hard worker, a little impulsive and headstrong, but very reliable and kind. We love her. Both Tomoe and Shao are very untrusting of humans in the beginning of the story because of their trauma, I think. Anyways, Tomoe is pretty cynical and condescending towards Nanami in the beginning, whereas Shao grows pretty protective of Anne almost immediately. Someone say Stockholm Syndrome? But I prefer nice green flags for male protags, so points to Sugar Apple Fairy Tale for having a sweetie pie. Most of the other characters in Sugar Apple Fairy Tale are misogynistic, to be honest. There's this like other fairy, Mithril Linpod, but again, the whole relationship between fairies and humans is really weird and uncomfortable, so I'm hesitant to say that it's better, especially since Kami-sama Kiss has a really good set of characters. Kuroma gives off bad boy vibes, but he actually has a heart of gold. Mizuki, also super sweet. So I think Kami-sama Kiss wins this round too. Then there's the chemistry. As much as it pains me to say it, I think Sugar Apple Fairy Tale might win this one. Anne and Shao have a lot of cutesy moments together, whereas Kami-sama Kiss is more of a slow burn. Tomoe takes freaking forever to realize how he feels, which obviously is going to come down to personal preference, and I guess I prefer an instant love connection over a slow burn. But the thing is, the romance between Anne and Shao gives me so much of an ick. Like, I can't even enjoy the quick pace. No. I think I'm giving points to Kami-sama Kiss. I'm sorry. Well, not really. Anyways, Kami-sama Kiss won this round. Moving on to our next matchup, it's Say I Love You versus Horimiya. Now, I've actually done a review on Say I Love You, and I felt pretty neutral about it. Like, not my top 10 favorites, but it's alright. I think it compares really well to Horimiya. There's a popular character who takes an interest in the outcast / loner, and boom, love blossoms. And both popular characters are hiding their true selves. Yamato is faking pleasantries because of bullying that he encountered super young, and Hori hides her home life from her peers because she's embarrassed about the endless chores, raising her brother with no father figure in sight. Now, which plot is better? They are both pretty similar, but I think Horimiya takes the cake on this one. The whole popular guy ex loner girl is just a really common TV trope, so having the roles reversed, aka popular girl ex loner guy, feels refreshing and new, especially since it's not like harem slop popular girl ex loner guy. Like, Hori actually has a personality and it's not her tits. Whoa, crazy concept, I know. But that's why I also have her winning the better female lead category too. Not that Mei's personality is her tits, or even bad, but Hori is more likable. She's strong-headed and confident, despite her insecurities, and she's kind and dependable. I love her. Mei is kinda unlikable in the beginning of Say I Love You, and she has every right to be, okay? She's got a lot of trauma to unpack. Relatable, but cynical pessimists aren't really my favorite character type, so I'm giving points to Hori. And Horimiya continues the winning streak because I'm also picking Miramura over Yamato every day of the week. I said this in my review of Say I Love You. I think Yamato's need to be a people pleaser really resonates with me, but he's kind of the worst boyfriend ever. He does not treat our girl Mei right. Whereas Miramura is, he's got similar trauma about not fitting in, but he's a true gem. He's calm, he's laid back, he's chill, he's honest. We love him. Although, I wish he had kept the long hair. I'm really mad about the fact that he got a haircut. And the supporting characters and couples in Horimiya are really good too. I thought Say I Love You lacked development in their side characters, but Horimiya utilizes all of their characters and makes you care about them. Like, the main draw of Say I Love You is Mei and Yamato's relationship, but in Horimiya, I was obsessed with Remy and Sengoku's relationship. They had a whole episode dedicated to them, and it was perfect. Points to Horimiya. Lastly, the chemistry. Again, I feel like Yamato was not a good boyfriend, so I'm like not a fan of their whole dynamic. But they were pretty cute together sometimes. Oh god, oh no. Cause Hori and Miyamura are so freaking cute and they are good partners to each other. Yeah. They win, so Horimiya completely dominated this round. Alright, let's jump into Lovely Complex versus Tomo-chan is a Girl. I picked these two to go head-to-head because I think both Koizumi and Tomo struggle with insecurities that affect their dating lives. Koizumi is insecure about her height, she thinks no guy would ever date a tall girl, and Tomo has a very masculine personality, which she attempts to change to be perceived as more attractive. And they both fall for their boy best friends, Otani and June respectively. Plot-wise, I think Lovely Complex is more unique, with a huge height difference between the two love interests, and their own low self-esteem is like the hurdle they have to overcome. Tomo-chan? Okay, I weirdly was not into it. I feel like I should have enjoyed it, but I don't, and I'm not really sure why. Similarly to Say I Love You, I just feel generally neutral about it. It didn't wow me or anything. I think it was good enough in its own regard, but in comparison to Lovely Complex, it just falls short. As far as female leads go, both Koizumi and Tomo do the thing I hate, which is be absolutely boy crazy. 90% of their conversations center around scheming on how to win over the heart of their boy besties. And yes, these are romantic comedies, so romance is the focus of the story, but like other heroines don't feel as desperate. Still, if I had to pick one over the other, I think I would pick Koizumi. She's very goofy. I've also reviewed Lovely Complex, and I feel like where Tomo-chan is afraid to be herself because she thinks acting more tomboyish isn't attractive, Koizumi is unapologetically herself, even with her confidence issues. Points to Lovely Complex. I don't really like June. Spoiler, but Tomo-chan confesses to him, and he pretends she meant as friends, as bros, and totally ignores her heartfelt revelation. And he likes her. But I guess he's worried that it'll ruin their friendship, which is fair, I guess, but ooh, it made me mad. Otani also thought Koizumi's confession was, like, as friends, but he's just dumb. He's not intentionally being malicious. And also, I just love a short king. I cannot think of a single other romance anime where the male lead is shorter than the female lead. He is truly one of a kind, and I really like that. The thing Lovely Complex is lacking is supporting characters. You think with 24 episodes that they take more time to develop the main friend group, but instead they just keep adding more and more characters. And although I'm not really a fan of Tomo-chan's side characters, I have to admit they have spunk. They got personality. They're interesting. They feel like fully fleshed individuals. And I do really like Carol, to be honest. She's such an odd duck, and I respect that. Super Luna Lovegood coded. The chemistry, though. I think it's lacking in both stories, to be honest. Lovely Complex kind of drags his feet with the love confession into dating. It takes freaking forever for Otani to wake the flip up and realize how he feels. But they do have some cute moments together, so I'm not that mad. Tomo-chan, on the other hand, okay, I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like June has more chemistry with Tomo's best friend Misuzu than with her. Maybe it's because I'm obsessed with rivals to lovers, and since June and Misuzu are always bickering, I feel like something is going on. But then, spoilers, but it's revealed that they actually used to date. And I'm like, huh? Allegedly, they were both just using each other to get closer to Tomo, but I'm not buying it. I feel like there is romantic tension there, either between June and Misuzu, or between Misuzu and Tomo. Like, Misuzu is the root of the problem. She just has this synergy with the main characters that's undeniable, and it makes me not focus on the actual love relationship between Tomo and June. So, Lovely Complex for the win. Congrats, Lovecom! Next is Maid-Sama versus Love is Hard for Otaku. Admittedly, this comparison is a bit of a stretch, but both female protags have like a hidden identity. In Maid-Sama, Misaki is hiding her part-time job at a maid cafe so she can protect her reputation as student council president at her mostly all-boys high school. And in Love is Hard for Otaku, Narumi hides her fujoshi lifestyle from her coworkers to protect herself from becoming an outcast. And both male protags, Usui and Hirotaka, are both quiet and show little interest in other people around them. So which plot is better? It's a tough choice because office romances are surprisingly rare in shoujo anime. The romance plots typically center around high school, but the whole May Cafe concept is original and stands out. I don't know, I think I'm gonna give it to Maid-Sama for creativity. It's just conceptually more interesting. I love both female protags as well. It's gonna be another tough choice. Narumi is a very believable character. Back in my day, if you got outed as a weeb, you would be ostracized from society. So I really resonate with her. But I think a lot of people identify with Misaki. She's like the better version of Tomo. Misa is very masculine for being a girl and uninterested in girl hobbies. But not in a I'm not like other girls way. She just doesn't care about them. She's unbothered and she's not going to change who she is to fit in with society's definition of what a girl should be. So points again to Maid-Sama. Hirotaka is the better male protag, okay? Usui low-key is kind of a red flag. He's very possessive and jealous. And I feel like sometimes he just crosses boundaries when he shouldn't. I'm not like a total hater or anything. I keep an active list of what my top 10 favorite anime shows are that I redo like every year, just to see how my tastes have changed, etc. And Maid-Sama was in my top 10 for like 6 years in a row. I just think Hirotaka is more of a green flag. Also, I adore the fact that he's been in love with Narumi ever since they were kids. It's so cute. He's just a really great and supportive boyfriend. Love is Hard for Otaku also has the better secondary characters. Without rewatching Maid-Sama, I could not name a single secondary character off the top of my head. They are really not important. Whereas Love is Hard for Otaku has secondary couples and that is so good. Koyagi and Kabakura have my favorite rival to lovers trope. They fight all the time, but it's very appealing. I don't know what to tell you. And then Naoya and Ko are so sweet and innocent. First love type vibes. Potentially my favorite couple of the three. It's so good. I love it when multiple ships are sailing in a single show. Which is why I think Love is Hard for Otaku also has better chemistry between the characters. Maid-Sama is good, really good, but you only get one couple. Every episode, every second of Love is Hard for Otaku is filled with romance. And I love love, okay? So Love is Hard for Otaku wins this competition. Now we have Special A versus Kaguya Love is War. Both of these stories have my favorite, rivals to lovers trope. Yes! In Special A, Hikari is always trying to win against Kei, and she is completely oblivious to the fact that he likes her. In Love is War, both Kaguya and Miyuki are in love with each other, but too proud to admit it. So they scheme up ways to get the other to admit their feelings. So good! Plot-wise, both are pretty similar. They take place in these rich, fancy-pants high schools. I think Special A has more of a distinct plot, with the main characters all being part of this elite, super smart class called SA, or Special A, hence the title. And it gives off, not dark academia, but like scholarly camaraderie, found family maybe? Love is War similarly has this tight-knit friend group that sprouts from being all on the student council, but I don't know, I think Special A just does it better. It's just more special. Get it? Female protags. Okay. Hikari feels a little basic. Well, not basic. Overdone? She's super competitive, oblivious to love. It just feels like a character trait that I've seen time and time again. Kaguya, on the other hand, is cunning and scheming and has a scary aura. If you took Mizuzu from Tomo-chan is a girl and made her the main character, you'd have something like Kaguya. And I think that having a dark and mysterious female protagonist is special and rare. And I think special and rare is cool. So she's my winner. Male protags. Okay. Although I love Kei, because he is in fact a major simp, I think Miyuki is the better protagonist. The Dark Circles? Same, my guy. And I just love the inner monologues. Reminds me of Death Note. He also has a lot of similar traits to Kaguya, but is less intimidating and scary. But he and Kaguya are just really refreshing together. Which is why I'm skipping to chemistry. Because Kaguya and Miyuki have that spark, you know? And watching them both simp over each other is so fun, and I'm just obsessed with them. I think that Hikari and Kei also have a really good romantic tension, but it doesn't come into play until like the final episode. And honestly, I think some of their side couples have better chemistry than them. Which is why I would choose Special A supporting characters over Love is Wars. Tadashi and Akira especially are my favorites. I do love a rivals to lovers trope, but I also really enjoy a childhood friends to lovers trope. And they do it so well. Plus Megumi and her spoiler significant other, you get 2-for-1 rivals to lovers tropes in the same show. but that means Love is War wins. Which is crazy, because going back to my top 10 list, Special A has been on my list ever since I first watched it, like, I don't know, 10 plus years ago? And Love is War has never been on my top 10 list. Not because I hate it or anything, there's just limited seats, you know? So it's crazy that I'm choosing it over Special A. I'm learning new things about myself, and it scares me. Next up, Ouran High School Host Club versus Romantic Killer, which is maybe an odd matchup, but both are arguably reverse harems, and both parody romantic tropes in Shojo. Ouran has a host club, and each member of the club is a parody of a love interest type you might see in Shojo. You got the prince, the nerds, some boys love, etc. Romantic Killer is about a love cupid who is trying to get the main protagonist to date because of declining birth rates or something. So Anzu, the main character, is constantly running into classic anime tropes for a potential boyfriend, like her childhood best friend or the rich kid. Plot-wise, obviously I'm gonna have to give it to Romantic Killer. I mean, a love cupid? That's fun, that's silly. Though I'll admit, it's weird how Anzu doesn't even question the existence of another world and love cupids. She's too preoccupied with trying to avoid the love situations altogether. I love Ouran, don't get me wrong, but it's kind of a typical high school setting. I just really love a good fantasy element. Now, between Haruhi and Anzu, it's a tough choice. I think they are both baddies to the bone, but I think Haruhi is the better lead. She's just chill, laid back, she values inner beauty to outer beauty, and those values shine through her work as a host. They literally call her the natural for a reason. Anzu is also charming in her own way, but I feel like she sometimes leans too stereotypical, not like other girls' girl. She never got into romance because she was too busy playing video games with the boys. I don't know, I just feel like heroines sometimes lean a little too far away from being feminine because that's what sets them apart as a protagonist and gets the attention of the male leads because they're so different. But, like, what's wrong with being a little girly? What's wrong with liking pink and fashion and makeup? There's a way to do a tomboy female lead, like Misa from Maid-Sama, but I just don't know if Romantic Killer did it as successfully. I do love how anti-romance she is though, but I'm still giving points to Ouran. Alright, so both shows have quite a few love interests, each being kind of a reverse harem, but I'm just going to focus on Tamaki from Ouran and Riri/Rio from Romantic Killer. Tamaki is fun. He is such a drama queen. I love watching him go off on screen, but in real life, I would not be able to deal with his antics. Riri/Rio is the magical love cupid sent to help Anzu find romance. They can shapeshift and do all sorts of magic. They even go as far as attacking the stalker girl who nearly killed Anzu. Spoilers, I guess. Sorry about that. But anyways, I really love their dynamic in combination with Anzu. Both Anzu and Riri/Rio are trying to scheme and one-up each other. It's great. I am team Riri/Rio for sure. Points to Romantic Killer. So, supporting characters, Romantic Killer has less than half the screen time compared to Ouran, and I do really think that affects their secondary cast. Anzu, Riri/Rio, and Tsukasa, they all have plenty of screen time, but Junta and Hijiri don't really have as many impactful appearances. This is why I'm saying it's kind of a reverse harem, because I'm not convinced that either boy was ever in the running. I mean, Junta is shown to be in love with Anzu, right? But she never really has one-on-one time with him. She's either with Riri/Rio or Tsukasa. And I would have loved to see more screen time of Anzu's bestie, Saki. Ouran has more screen time and actually uses it. With Ouran, you get to know and love all of the host club members, but even the side characters like Umihiro and Ritsu are engaging. Umihiro is my favorite character. He is such a little freak, and I'm so into it. So, another win for Ouran. As far as chemistry goes, it's gotta be Ouran, right? I mean, Anzu is literally trying to kill romance. She's taking the shoujo manga-esque scenes and ruining them on purpose. And if I'm being so real, I didn't even know until like this past year that Ouran was a reverse harem, because it's so flippin' obvious that Haruhi and Tamaki are in love. They are the couple. And out of the rest of the host club, only Hikaru seemed to have feelings for her. Like, the rest of the club sat happily on the sidelines as besties. I don't know. I just feel like Haruhi and Tamaki are the couple, and they are so cute together. I just never even thought about any of the other boys as potential love interests. Like, that is just how good they are together. So, winner is Ouran High School Host Club. Let's move on to our next comparison, Itsura na Kiss versus My Happy Marriage. Now, I have reviewed Itsura na Kiss before, and I'm probably pronouncing the title wrong, but I do not care because I hated that show. Almost as much as I hated Sugar Apple Fairy Tale. But here's the tea, sis. I also don't like My Happy Marriage, for completely different reasons. So basically both stories are dramas, and I don't like dramas. In Itsuruga Kiss, you have a clumsy female protagonist fall head over heels for her cold, aloof classmate. My Happy Marriage is a story about a girl who is from an abusive family, and she's forced into marriage with this supposedly cold and aloof soldier, but he's actually quite sweet. So My Happy Marriage has definitely the better plot. Aside from my absolute despise of Itsuruga Kiss, My Happy Marriage has fantasy elements, which I am a sucker for, and to top it off, it's a historical drama. Very similar vibes to Yona and Apothecary Diaries. I take issue with Itsuruga Kiss because the plot jumps around a lot. First, they're in high school, then college, then in the workforce, and there's massive time skips between each new event. And if I'm being real, I think time skipping is sloppy writing. The Promised Neverland did it in season 2, and that turned out awful. One Piece did it, but I never got past the Summit Wars arc, so I'm not really sure how that affected the series. Anyways, the point is, I think a series really suffers from major time skips. We don't get to see the characters grow, we're just told that they do. It's disruptive, it can be confusing for people who are really invested in seeing the journey, especially since I think Itsuruga Kiss already has unstable footing to stand on. The main character, Kotoko, is an idiot, to put it nicely. Her entire personality revolves around what Naoki, the love interest, does. He plays tennis, so she plays tennis. He becomes a doctor, so she becomes a nurse. She has no ambitions. Mio, on the other hand, may seem a bit clumsy and dependent on her love interest, Kyoka, but she has trauma. She has been literally abused by her family all her life. And they really emphasize that. It's not something that she just automatically overcomes. Like, sometimes in shoujo, traumatic things will happen to the characters, and they never really seem to struggle or deal with that mentally/emotionally. So I appreciate the realness, even if it makes me utterly depressed to watch. And likewise, My Happy Marriage has the better love interest. First of all, Kyoka might seem intimidating, but deep down, he's a softie. When he learns why Mio is how she is, he, vows to make her life better. He, tries to force her family to apologize to her or else they won't reap any of the benefits of their marriage. Also, he never slaps her in the face. So, it's not even really a competition. Also, Naoki is just, manipulative and mean. He's always calling Kotoko stupid. So am I, but I wouldn't say that to her face, which obviously means that My Happy Marriage has the better chemistry. Treat your girl right, that's all I'm asking for. Also, it's really sweet when Kyoka brings over Mio's old friend and she realizes that he knows about her past and her lack of spiritual gifts, but he still wants to marry her. I shed a tear. It's a beautiful episode. So that leaves the side character category. Itsuruga Kiss's one and only shot at winning anything. And honestly, I don't know. So, My Happy Marriage, a lot of the characters are evil and selfish. All of Mio's family are pieces of shit. But Itsuruga Kiss doesn't really have any standout characters either. All of the men suck in that show. Literally all of them. Not a single one of them is okay. I guess some of the other ladies are nice, Chris is pretty nice, but Koji from My Happy Marriage is also nice. I think I'm picking My Happy Marriage. So that's a landslide victory. Moving on to Kimi ni Todoke versus Komi Can't Communicate. I know season 3 of Kimi ni Todoke was released a year ago, but it still counts as old shoujo, okay? Both series feature a female protagonist that is heavily misunderstood by her peers. Sawako, everyone thinks she has evil powers like Sadako from The Ring, and people tend to avoid her because of it, even though she is the sweetest being ever. Komi has severe social anxiety, but everyone thinks of her as this perfect, untouchable goddess, when all she really wants is to form human connections with her peers. And both male protags are the greenest frickin' flags ever. So plot-wise, they are both pretty similar, just ordinary high school romances. I think I'm awarding Komi Can't Communicate at this point because Kimi ni Todoke does one of the things that I super hate. Miscommunication trope. The miscommunication trope can be done well when it's silly and goofy. Examples, gamers, Monthly Girl Sasaki-kun, ya feel me? But Kimi ni Todoke does not use it for silly fun games. It uses it to extend drama. Season 2, oh my god, I was shaking in my boots. Fury, anger, wrath. As you can tell, I was not a fan. So Komi wins for not pissing me off. Sawako does win Best Female Lead though. Komi is the main character, but not. Most of the story is told through Tadano's perspective, and Komi being bad at communicating, it doesn't really feel like we get a good picture of what she's thinking or feeling. I do like that she's flawed and insecure, despite being seen as this goddess. Even quote-unquote perfect people struggle sometimes. But regardless, Sawako is just like the sweetest character. Despite the fact that her classmates are like low-key bullying her, she's worried about disappointing them because she can't actually summon spirits. Like, she is putting people first. My goals in life are to be more like Sawako and Toru from Fruits Basket. On the flip side, I like Tadano better than Kazehaya. It's a tough choice. Both of these anime have appeared on my legendary top 10 list, so I do really love them both. They have the kindest hearts, they are mature, empathetic, but I think Kazehaya and the whole miscommunication thing irks me enough that I would give the points to Tano. And also, I just really adore the way Tano is like the only one who's able to read Komi's body language and understand how she's feeling. It just makes their relationship extra special. The best side character award goes to Kimi ni Todoke. First off, Komi has about a bajillion side characters. So one of the big parts of the show is that Komi wants to make 100 friends. So every episode or so, they're introducing new characters to be new friends. And that means not every friend gets to shine in the spotlight. And certain characters, not to name any specifically, who are in the show more frequently are gross and annoying and off-putting. It's a gag intended for humor, but it's just not my sense of humor. And it's not even that Komi's supporting characters are so bad that Kimi ni Todoke's are better by comparison. Kimi ni Todoke has really well-developed, nuanced characters. Ayane is smart and can see right through Kazehaya and Sawako's communication barriers and steer them into the right direction. And then the side romance between Chizuru and Ryu, impeccable, to die for. So it all comes down to who I thought had the better chemistry. This is tough. This whole thing has been tough. Why did I pick these two to go against each other? I think in the end, I like Komi and Tano's relationship better. That White Day episode? Or the way Tano picked the perfect present for Komi, and she chooses to sit near him over everyone else? It's so good! Kazehaya and Sawako, miscommunication trope aside, also have a super lovey-dovey relationship. I love the way Kazehaya is always blushing over Sawako's kind gestures, but truthfully, I have rewatched Komi Can't Communicate more times than I have rewatched Kimi ni Todoke, so it just feels right to pick Komi in the end. And for our final comparison, I picked My Little Monster to go up against the Ice Guy and his cool female colleague. The reason being that both female protagonists are described as cold and emotionless. Mizutani's nickname is literally Dry Ice because of her straight-to-the-point attitude, and Fuyutsuki is calm and mature, which makes her seem emotionally distant. And both male protagonists completely contrast this cold behavior. Haru is wild and uncontrollable, and Himaru makes snowstorms every time he feels emotional. And they're both giant simps for our girls. Plot-wise, it's my boy Ice Guy. Said it once, say it again. Modern stories with a little fantasy twist? I'm in love again. Also, it's an office romance. I do love a good high school setting with the classic Valentine's Day and cultural festival episodes, but I am old. And that stuff hasn't applied to me in many a year. Also, office romances are just fun, you know? For the female protag category, I'm mixed on this. I feel like describing Mitty as cold is accurate. She's blunt, she's standoffish, not in a mean way, but definitely a little detached. She cares more about studying than being with friends, and then she grows and she cares about others, and it's a really good character arc. I really love Fuyutsuki too, but cold and aloof is not really how I would describe her. But that is how her character is presented. Sure, she's not as excitable and loud as her peers, but she's definitely not cold-hearted. She cares about people and animals. She doesn't need to grow or change. She's perfect as is. But I think Mitty, she actually is the cold-hearted character that she's described to be. For the boys, I'm Team Himaru. Obviously, I think you've picked up on what type of guys I prefer, and a golden retriever simp boy, that's definitely it. Haru is similarly obsessed with Mitty, but it feels more controlling. And also, I'll never forgive him for, threatening to assault her. The heck? No. Gross. Ew. And he punches her in the face. It was on accident, but still. How are you that aggressive that you're just, punching people? Both stories have really solid supporting characters. I like Asako and Sasahara. I like Oshima. I don't like Yamaguchi, I think he's a dick, and a bully, of which he never apologizes for. Like, his friends apologize, but he does not. But Ice Guy has secondary couples, aka more love, more romance, more heart-pounding moments. Every time Komori and Sajima had a subtle little flirty moment, oh my lord. I think the other couple, Otanashi and Katori, were lacking in chemistry. I don't think Otashi even likes Katori, but they were still very sweet and nice. So, points to Ice Guy. So we're down to best chemistry. Congratulations to Ice Guy! Himuro and Fuyutsuki are just the cutest. I mean, every episode. Just perfect, adorable. What more can you want? Also, it's really hard to enjoy the chemistry of a couple if you don't like one half of the couple. And they kept confessing to each other, but then the other would be like, no. So I think it was pretty obvious where this was going. So, final count for old shoujo, 4 wins. New shoujo, 6 wins. This, obviously, is all my own personal opinions. Obviously. So I wanted to see what other people ranked these animes. So I grabbed the scores of each show on myanimelist.com. Obviously, the people who wrote these reviews weren't comparing them like I did, but they are reviews, so I think it's fair game. So based on those results, Old Anime wins 6-4. But this isn't really about who won at the end of the day, is it? The point is, people are saying New Shoujo is cooked because of the all-time popularity of harem slap. But here's the thing. I think anime in general is just getting more popular. Back in the day, you'd be lucky to get more than one season of a show, but look at Love is War. 4 freaking seasons! And we got a freaking ton of new and good anime these past few years. Not every release is going to be gold, but the same was true for the past. I think that shoujo anime is doing just fine. You just have to look harder for some good shows. Anyways, that concludes this video. I know this was different from my usual review segments, but I felt very passionate about defending New Shoujo. I mean, have you seen Love is Hard for Otaku? Because you should. It's currently in my beloved top 10 anime list. But that's enough yapping for now. See you in the next one. Bye!